We think of that as like two different ways. There's test for AI, which is kind of the first thing in that the video was showing. And to answer your first question, do you run things in parallel? That was actually switching back and forth between running the traditional version with no AI and then running the version with AI so that we can test and compare the performance between them. And the second thing that you mentioned would be AI for test. And using your AI to kind of figure out what test points you're doing and things like that, and knowing what's trustworthy and when, and trying to create a smarter plan. And we're looking at both. And then there's another kind of project that we've done with this particular system where we're looking at when we have a machine learning model that we're putting inside of a system, how many different test points do you need to take to know that it's going to work properly? Because that's like a third thing, a third dimension where, everyone's saying, hey, we're going to use AI, we're going to stick it in there. But for anyone who watches this space, one of the easiest examples that I think we're all familiar with, at least in the US, there's a lot about Tesla and self-driving cars, and they have a lot of problems turning left. And there's left-hand turns is like there's so many times when it gets into a corner case just trying to turn left. And so if you think of that same example in a wireless network, like what's the equivalent of our left-hand turn? How do we know that the model is going to work in all of those corner cases? And so we've done research with University of Texas at Austin to try and figure that out. Like how many test points do you actually need? Because you could test indefinitely and never find all the corner cases. And so that's a whole other area of study is trying to answer that question. So unfortunately, I don't have good answers, but those are all problems that we're thinking about, and that I think as an industry, again, coming from a test and measurement background, trying to just rephrase how we're thinking about things because it gets lost. It's so exciting to get caught up in the magic and the power of AI that there's this whole new set of challenges that we need to think about as well. So that way, when we do implement it, we do put it into a system, we know it's actually going to work and it's going to work all the time.
Yeah, and will that always be inside equipment that comes from NI/Emerson, or like is it something that you eventually start showing off like as a service? Because if you're selling to sort of engineer types who want to essentially use these things to test and validate and make sure that vendors aren't ripping them off or lying to them, ultimately, like is that I don't know, like are they ever going to be happy with something that's like intangible? Like if they can open like a chassis and see, all the components in like a chain, they're at least vaguely familiar with it. But if you get to the point that it is just a black box, like is that sort of customer, I don't know, going to be happy about it? Is they going to be sort of weeping, wailing, gnashing teeth?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a general question for all of us for everything that we
Mm.
use for AI, right? Like it's not just test and measurement, but test engineers are probably more less trustworthy than most, and they want to have those answers. And so we do have our own AI tools. We have a tool that we call Nigel that is, AI for test and measurement specifically, and it does have knowledge of our tools. And it when you're asking it to do these sorts of things, it does give you a detailed explanation. And kind of like I don't know if you've noticed, with even just Google, it starts showing you the link of where you got the source. And so as a community, as scientists and engineers, I think we're trying to all do better at understanding and removing some of the black box around AI. And this space is no exception to that. We need to do that in order to make it trustworthy, because until we do, it's not, and it's not going to be good enough.
Mm.
Mm.
And
Um,
before I, was just one final thing. Sorry, Alex. When you're saying the AI piece, it's an on-prem model, right? That you are supplying. It's running entirely in the customer's, room or
Correct.
building. Yeah. Okay. Cool.